connect a whole lot of dots here on the changes called for by the SAVE Act and the executive order as intentionally trying to create the ultimate chaos and potential democratic crisis in the next election, from decertification of equipment to how do you even administer the election. The calls for paper ballots only, which we support, but all have to be counted on election night. How do you do that in the state of California that has 22 million, north of 22 million registered voters now, more voters in California than there are people in Florida? So just the sheer volume takes a minute, let alone needing and wanting and needing to maintain the security safeguards, right? Signature verification for vote-by-mail ballots and provisional ballots, those sorts of things. So I can't help but think it is very intentional on the proponents of these measures to create that chaos and confusion, undermine not just the process itself, but our underlying public confidence in elections and our democracy. So high stakes indeed. I'm going to begin to conclude here by thanking all of our witnesses, again, for the effort to be here today, for your time, and for your willingness to share your experience, your expertise, and your testimony. Now, in any year, it's no small thing to come before the members of the Rules Committee and help sound the alarm against a bill that's being pushed by the majority party. But it takes even more courage to do that when the President of the United States is literally trying to build a culture of fear and retribution against those who speak out, whether it's members of Congress, whether it's university leaders, whether it's media organizations, on and on and on. So I especially thank you for your courage to be here today. If there's one thing that we can take away from this hearing, one action item to work towards in order to protect the future of our democracy, it's that we must stop the SAVE Act. You've heard it from me, you've heard it from my colleagues, you've heard it from Leader Schumer, how important this is, how committed we are to ensure that it does not see the light of day on the Senate floor. One of the things that I will also point out that hasn't been said thus far is, can't help but think of the word hypocrisy when it comes to Republicans in regards to the SAVE Act and the executive order. See, in previous years when Democrats have brought forward proposals to improve elections, better support elections, better give voters more options to vote safely and securely, but more conveniently, part of the argument for Republican pushback has been, no, the Constitution is clear, states run elections. The federal government shouldn't be dictating how states administer elections. Yet when the president has his harebrained ideas, and something as dangerous as the SAVE Act is introduced, the silence is deafening. But for one at least, the chairman of the Senate Rules Committee, Mitch McConnell, had an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal just a couple of weeks ago, making very different policy arguments, but at least acknowledging that line that Republicans have traditionally respected. The federal government, certainly not the President of the United States, should be dictating to states how to best administer their elections. So if they weren't for it in the past, I hope they acknowledge that now. Also, as we heard today, it's not only a solution in search of a problem, it would make it harder for tens of millions of eligible Americans to vote in the process. At a bare minimum, our duty, our responsibility should be to not make it harder for Americans to vote. I wish we can get to the place where we're debating, discussing how we actually facilitate more voter participation. But we're going to clearly need to continue our efforts to support efforts at the state and local level, particularly in light of the harassment and attacks that our elections administrators and volunteers are facing. So from fighting back in the courts to ensuring consistent and reliable funding for elections administrations without restrictive conditions, I should add, to protecting the independence of the Election Assistance Commission and helping elections officials identify resources to keep our elections secure in light of President Trump's attempts to dismantle the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency at the Department of Homeland Security. There is clearly more work to be done. Now, this isn't the first attack on our democracy that we've seen from the Trump White House, and sadly, I predict that it won't be the last. But my hope is that in the coming months, as a committee, we can continue to stand strong in defense of our democracy, whatever it takes. And with that, I want to thank you all once again for being here today, and appreciate the pledge to keep up the fight. And with that, this hearing is adjourned.